Welcome to another edition of An Earful, and I'm your host, Lemuel Appling. Wow, what another exciting day to be alive in the land of the living. We just thank God for you sticking and staying with us. We're sorry for that long introduction, but we was getting things together because we have a wonderful show for you today. We want you to be aware of what's going on around you locally and nationally. Right here on An Earful, we have things we want to share with you. We want you to be aware of, and that is, it's over 250,000 innocent men and women in our penitentiary system right here in America. And we want to talk about that today. We've been telling you that over the last couple of weeks, that we are dedicating the month of March to the innocent. And we want to be a voice for the voiceless. So we have some guests today that's going to share some information with you to help you understand what you can do to get in the fight for other people that can't fight for themselves. And we want to hear some good news. Each and every week, we want you to call in and let us know the good that's happening in your hood, some good that's happening around you. The number just popped up on your screen. You can call us right now. We are live at 313-868-0342 or 313-868-0351. And you can call in and tell us the good that's happening. We want to expose the good news. If you have done some good or you know of someone that is doing some good, call in and let's spotlight them. Let's let the world know that there's some good going on in the hood right here on An Earful. Listen, on the other side of this quick commercial break, we're going to get right into our topic. We're talking about the innocent people that needs our help. Stay tuned, stick and stay right here on An Earful with your host, Lemuel Appling.
Now you can watch WHPR TV 33 on Fire Stick. Catch all of your favorites. Stay informed. Don't miss a minute of your favorite talk shows. Call, text, tweet, post. WHPR TV 33 is worldwide on Fire Stick. For more information, go to FirestickTVNetwork.com or call us at 313-868-6612. WHPR TV 33, a Watkins Broadcasting Company.
Welcome back to An Earful with your host, Lemuel Appling. We promise another great show, and we're here live with some awesome people who are working hard for their family member and friend, and we want you to understand that it's over 250,000 men and women of all colors. We're not saying black people only. We're saying citizens of this United States of America has been failed by the judicial system, and we want to bring some attention. It's time for us to be on red alert, because it's too late when your family member is in a crisis to want to know what to do. You need to know what to do already. So in the situation occurs on your behalf, you can already know what to do. I didn't say that how I wanted to say it, but you get the point. Now, we have some wonderful ladies here today. We have Mother Denise Avery, who was with us last week, and we have attorney Aaron Bevel. Did I say that right? Bevel. Aaron Bevel, attorney Aaron Bevel is here with us today, and these lovely ladies are here to let us know, particularly with the case of Mrs. Avery's son, Nosa. I'm always mess up his last name.
Nosa Kari Anamana.
We call him N.O. and but she's here to help us understand what's going on. How you ladies doing today?
I'm well. How you doing?
Great. So, Attorney Bevel, just let us know where we are in this case right now.
Well, with Nosa's case, first I want to wish Nosa a happy belated birthday.
Happy
His
birthday.
was on Friday.
Wow.
We've been fighting for a while since he was charged with a crime that he didn't commit,
Right.
and he's been incarcerated all this time. We've done a number of appeals at this point, waiting to get to the next stage,
Right.
Which we hope will be working potentially with one of the Innocence Projects here in the state. There are Innocence Projects around the country that are doing some great work, but they're wildly oversaturated. They have way too many cases because, as you mentioned, there are just too many people who are dealing with some of the same issues that Nosa is dealing with. Nosa was charged with a cold case murder, right? So this was a murder that occurred a long time ago in 1999, and then 2015, they came back and said, oh, we think you committed this crime. The problem with cold case murders in particular is that because everything happened so long ago, where are the witnesses? Where are the people that you can call on your behalf? Where are the people that can help you make a case against this thing you've been charged with? And that was the position that Nosa found himself in. And again, Nosa was also, many men are already incarcerated, right?
Right,
And already
right.
incarcerated for something else, something
right.
that he'd served his time to do, and it was time for him to go home. And as soon as it was time for him to go home, now, there's a cold case, and we want to charge you with it, and we're going to go through this whole process again. And so that it makes it difficult when you're already incarcerated, in terms of resources, in terms of being able to find the people that can vouch for you, the people that can talk about where were you the night of that murder, what were you doing, where were you working, all of these things that contributed to, the prosecution in this matter, the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office being able to, kind of put together this case against Nosa that didn't add up, and so many times in cases like this, not just cold cases, but any murder trial,
Right.
you have a situation where the prosecution has way more resources than you do, especially if you have a public defender, or you don't have enough money to get the kind of attorney that maybe you would like, or that all of us dream of, your Johnny Cochrans and whatnot, because
Right.
those people are expensive, and for good reason. It's a lot of hard work. However, the prosecution is in a position where they can put all these things forward against you, and you're kind of stuck with whatever you get. Now, Nosa is a very intelligent man. He's very smart, and he did a really great job. I came into the case after the trial ended,
Right.
but he did a very great job along the way, saying, this attorney isn't serving me, so I'm gonna ask the court for another one. I'm gonna ask the court for another one. I'm gonna ask the court for another one, because you can do that, but again, the way that everything is set up, sometimes you're getting, it's more of the same, unfortunately. You're continuing to get attorneys that maybe are not, they're not directly interested in making, they're not directly interested in making sure that your story is coming forth, that your truth is coming forth, or that you're not going to take a plea deal. A lot of attorneys now are focused on getting people plea deals so they can just kind of move forward.
Right.
I was thinking about this. It's kind of like doctors, right? Doctors, they can only spend 15 minutes with everybody if they want to make the money that they can make. And sometimes, the system has set it up so that lawyers have to do the same thing. It's like, you got to take a plea, and if you're not going to take a plea, this is good. This is too much time for me to invest, right?
Wow.
Now, again, in addition to all of these factors that are working against anyone who's charged with a crime, we had a situation with Nosa. There was a misidentification. The woman that said she potentially saw a black man, with the murder victim, who was an older white woman. At first she said she was in the courtroom, and Nosa was in the courtroom, and she said, "Oh, I don't see the person here." That happened twice. Okay, and then because the case, there were all these what we'll call procedural things. So the case kept going on, and then there was a judge that dismissed part of it, but not all of it. So then the case had to go back, and this kept back and forth. That kept happening, and then so she got to testify a number of times, and it was only the third time that she testified. I think that was at that point 3 years after he had first initially been charged. When all of a sudden she says that's the guy. She'd sat in the courtroom with him, and again, this is a cold case, so we're asking her to remember something from 15 years ago.
Right.
So that's hard in and of itself, but it's hard to say you didn't remember 11 years ago, but now you remember 15 years ago. And so, but again, so you have that problem. The next problem was that Nosa's attorney didn't challenge some of
Right.
some of those things, excuse me. There were, Nosa's attorney didn't challenge some of the procedural problems that he had. He tried to make some appeals as the case was moving toward trial that, for different reasons, there were attorneys that weren't doing what they were supposed to do. Things didn't get filed on time. And again, Nosa's incarcerated, so there's only so much that he can do. He still filed a bunch of stuff. Again, he was a very active member in his case. I think there are a lot of people, that you hear about jailhouse lawyers, you hear about lawyers that are incarcerated, and they learn more about the law than some of their lawyers know. So Nosa did a great job of representing and defending himself. But again, there were times when the judge said, "I can't accept this from you because you have an attorney. I can't accept this from you because you're not representing yourself." And I think Nosa's case is it really helps you understand how even when you have everything going in the right direction, there are still all these things that are coming against you at any given time, from just the way, remember our system was set up by white slaveholders. That's just how it is.
How does one prove their innocence if the juries come back and said you're guilty, if the judge come back and say you're guilty? Where do you go from there?
Right.
I mean, I know it's an appeal process, but I'm saying as an attorney, what direction do you go in to fight a fight like that? Because that's like an uphill battle, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up. One of the things about our system that makes it so difficult is we insulate our jury verdicts. We say, what the jury says is gold.
Right.
We're going to make it. It's very hard to get a court to go back on any kind of appeal and say, well, we want to do this again. We're going to give you another shot. Even though, again, we know there have been so many people who have been cleared of crimes either posthumously, like after they died. There are many people that have been released after serving years and years in prison
Right.
for crimes that they didn't commit. And so we have what we have to create, I think, is a system that acknowledges that there are so many mistakes that happen along the way. So it is very difficult. It's definitely an uphill battle. And what you do as a lawyer is you get ready for your appeal. You look for new evidence. That's something that we've been doing in Nosa's case consistently, just continuing to work. And the case also wasn't investigated well, right? So something that your defense attorney does, when you're charged leading up to trial, is investigate your case. They're supposed to have someone look into all of your witnesses, look into all your leads.
That's what
all of
I'm,
those things.
and I'm just helping you keep it going. But
Sure.
That's one of the things that puzzles me is so much evidence in Nosa's favor. I know Nosa personally, but it's another thing to look at the facts, and the facts speaks against the verdict.
Sure.
But yet the verdict stands.
Right.
So what does a person do when everything literally is against them? What do you do in a situation like that?
Well, I mean, we've done the first thing that we can do, again, which is, you appeal. You continue to appeal. You continue to, go to the higher courts. We went to the State Court of Appeals, and then to the, Nosa went ahead to the Michigan Supreme Court. Sometimes you can go to the United States Supreme Court, and you try to help them see, frame the evidence differently. Of course, the evidence that was presented, or the evidence that we know about, again, there were, there's a number of things. There was a glove that was found in the back of the murder victim's car that had Nosa's DNA on it, allegedly. This glove, there was no chain of custody. Chain of custody means here's the glove from the car, and here it went to this police officer, and then it went to this detective, and then it went to this person. There's supposed to be a list of where all the the documentation is not there.
And then it was a right glove and a left glove.
Right, and then there was documentation, but it was incorrect. It was inaccurate. It wasn't. Again, and some of this was presented to the jury, but unfortunately, again, in Nosa's case and what happened in so many other cases, you have what we call, an ineffective assistance of the counsel, right?
Right.
The attorney didn't necessarily put forth all of the things. You as a client, you can always say to your attorney, do this, do this, do this.
Right.
But sometimes an attorney can make a choice and say, well, I'm not going to do this, or I'm gonna, there was, Miss or Denise could, speak on, the attorney telling Nosa at trial, your parents told you not to testify, which she says is completely untrue.
Yeah.
So he didn't testify on his behalf, and there were no witnesses. So again, that in and of itself, to a jury, could look like, why aren't you saying anything? And especially when the evidence was not put forth by the attorney, and like jury verdicts, attorneys' decisions on what they do and strategy, they call it legal strategy in trial, is also very insulated. So you're battling these two very difficult legal concepts that over time judges have, because to make it easier, well, I don't want to say judges, but to make it easier for the courts don't want a whole bunch of cases going back and forth, oh, this was wrong, which again doesn't focus on the person. It doesn't focus on the truth. It doesn't focus on innocent people. It focuses on the system being able to work, right? A cog in the system.
Now, do you hear all of this? This is the web that's entangling a lot of families. It's overwhelming to be fighting for your life, fighting for your freedom, and all the cards are stacked against you. And we are doing this show especially for those of you who are out there that are helpless, or that don't know where to turn or what to do, finding yourself in a situation or your family member in a situation like this. Because yes, it's some people that are committing crimes and they're being sentenced and they're going to prison. But then we have another element, over 250,000 people who have not committed crimes, but because of circumstances and situations have found themselves in prison, serving a long time for things they didn't do. And then it's hard, as we're hearing, to overturn certain verdicts for certain people. So if you know Kim Kardashian, or if you got the hookup with Donald Trump, we need you to call in so that we can get some assistance in this area. Well, on a serious note, we want you to be aware that innocent people are being sentenced every single day. And you got to fight. You got to be in the fight. You got to prepare to fight. And you got to be willing to fight for the long haul. You can't just be with your family member for a short period of time, and then when the going gets tough or the road looks bleak, you give up and you give in. No, you got to continue, number one, to pray. You got to continue to pray. I believe the reason we're able to be here today is through prayer. God has given us another avenue, another way, another vehicle to try to help and support this young man who is innocent and is not waiting on freedom to be free. He's free right where he is. He's allowing God to use him to be a blessing to people, and that's good. But we want to get him out here. And not just him, all of the brothers and sisters that are wrongfully incarcerated. It has to be some type of check and balance that the system should come up with. Is there anything in law school that is being developed, or have you heard of anything that's been developed to try to create some type of check and balance, or a second trial, a second chance trial, or we kind of messed that one up, let's do a do-over? Because before you answer that, when I was in the courtroom with NOSA, it was so many times I wanted to jump in, like, have you heard a singer sing and they was hitting the notes wrong and you wanted to, push them off the mic? I felt like that while I was in the courtroom. Like, come on now, I could beat this case for you, because it was so much evidence in NOSA's favor. So what can a person do? Or are we just crippled by the system? What is it?
Well, I wouldn't say that we're crippled by the system. I think there are some things that are being developed. I'd like to see them utilized better. The Wayne County Prosecutor's Office does have a unit that looks at cases where there are allegations that there's either police misconduct or or other things. We haven't had that much success with that unit. I mean, it's housed within the police. Within the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, though, and I think
we asking them to police themselves.
Right, and I think when you have something like that, you've got to have have to have an independent entity. Just like with anything, you have to have an independent entity that's looking into these things, that can look at these things from both sides and can say, this is what we're seeing. This is how we want to and asking for a redo.
Hold on, we have a call.
Oh yes.
Caller, you on the air? Welcome to An Earful. Hello?
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how you doing today? What is your name?
Okay. Louis Appler.
Oh, okay. That's my daddy. What's happening? You have a question?
No, I'm just playing. Okay, no, you're doing great.
I appreciate your call, sir.
I just wanted to holler at you. I'm praying with you, and I'm listening to you.
I
Y'all
appreciate.
go ahead. I'm kicking the knowledge. I'll be back.
I appreciate that. Give him another hand.
And then I just want to say something.
Oh, that thought sweet. Carla, you on the air?
Yeah. I was just listening to the young lady talk about the system. I think the system has truly been broken. There's been too many lynching, hangings, modern style, modern day. We are watching and witnessing every day that a cop says that he's feared for his life with gun in hand, and the person has gone on to his grave, cannot even defend himself. But it's being seen all over the world how the system does not have anybody or anything overseeing the wrong that it has done and it continues to do. So I'm just wondering where and when is this system going to oversee the so-called overseers, because at this point we're feeling like we're living on a plantation where plantation overseers can come and do and harass you anytime they feel like it, and they can just pull a rabbit out of their hand and make an excuse for you going to be enslaved or into your grave.
And that's so good.
I'm just going to hang up and listen because I'm still waiting on this so-called savior y'all been preaching about, that these, once again, our oppressors gave us in the first place to believe in something that's non-existing. I still believe the gods and the goddesses is already inside of you, and until you waken that up of who you are and whose you are, you will continue to be waiting on the non-existing that your oppressors have given us. Thank you for taking my call, that's all.
We didn't get your name. She ran away. But that was powerful, and we thank you for that comment. And it's touching so many lives. See, the problem is the people that is not affecting, they don't care. So because it's not affecting us, we don't care, so we don't, that has nothing to do with me. But yes, it does. It's our community. And that's what we got to get back to. Loving one another, not just when I'm in need of your love, but because we are all together.
Well, I want to address this caller because truth, when you speak to truth and when you speak truth to power, there's a change.
That's right.
And what we're seeing is that there is a change coming. But until we as a people change, because the universe is giving us the experience to change. We're watching our children be murdered. We're watching our young men and women be put into modern day camps, because that's what they have planned for us. And we're watching the Jim Crow come back alive with these mass incarcerations.
That's right.
But it's not going to change until we change. And that's what I decided to do in the court system with my son's case. I wanted to piggyback what Aaron said. They do have a unit, a wrongly convicted unit here in Michigan. But again, you have to use wisdom when you're dealing with this criminal system.
That's right.
Because they did an investigation with my son's case. But how can you do an investigation when you never interviewed the defendant?
Wow.
So when they came back with this completed report, that just fueled me even more.
Right.
Because it's insulting. You say you're investigating my son's case, but you never went to go speak to him about the facts.
Wow.
And so, again, we have to use wisdom when we're working with the court system. And like this young lady said, the Christ is within us. The Messiahs are here. We are here as saviors doing the work. And when you stand and know that God is present, and when you move out the way and allow him to do the work, things happen. And that's what's been happening in my son's case.
That's right.
When my son says, Mom, this is what God told me to do, I moved out on that, and we got changed. This is how this case went 3 years in them trying to get this conviction, because they tried. And they sent attorney after attorney, and we were firing them so fast. Because if you have a defendant saying, I need you to file this motion, and all of a sudden there's no more communication, guess what? I was on that phone. I was going down to that office. I was active in dealing with the attorneys that had my son's life in their hands.
Now,
And so,
I want to jump in there, Mom, because it's a mother out there right now that may feel embarrassed, may feel like she's alone, may feel like, even her family doesn't believe in her child, and she may feel like, the reason why she's not fighting like she may would, because she feels like, well, maybe my son is wrong, or she's starting to second guess her own self because of the long drawn out process. How do you speak to that mother and give her strength?
Well, I was that mother at first. You don't know, like I said in the last program, you don't know what your children do. It was until I began to do the legwork, I began to look at the documents that we got back, and I began to put common sense there. I'm like, wait a minute. Like at one point, the way the prosecutor set this whole time frame up, they had it where No Sakari lived with me. Then his job was 10 minutes from my home. But the truth was, he did not live with me.
Wow.
So when I looked at this, I said, wait a minute. My son didn't live with me at the time. None of the attorneys investigated that. Then he was no longer at the job at the time this woman was murdered. He was there as a seasonal temp. But what they did in the trial was they brought someone from the company that he worked with and just verified
That he
his
worked
taxes
with.
for
Right.
that year.
Right.
Okay, they never had me on the witness stand.
Right.
And during my son's trial, he had a list of witnesses that his attorney didn't bring not one of his witnesses forward during the trial. And they played on the emotional sympathy because the prosecutor put photos of this murdered woman and set her family behind him. See, these are strategic things that we're having to deal with, but we have to step up and begin to walk in wisdom and allow God to guide us.
Right.
Because the interesting part about it is No Sakari name mean God has the final decision.
Wow.
And whenever things got rough with me, I would call out my son's name and say, you know what, Lord, you chose him. You gave him this name. And in that, I'm constantly knowing that God has the final decision
That's right.
with his life.
That's right.
And so in spite of that, I say to mothers, read the documents. Go with the spirit that is within you telling you whether this is to right or wrong. Because if you lean on not to your own understanding, but to the understanding of the Christ within, it will guide you.
That's right.
And that's what they're afraid of in this case, because we have been doing things that they're looking like, oh my God, how did they know that? Or
Right.
how did they get this done? Because for one, when my son did his own work, I was the legwork. I would go to the prosecutor's office. I would come at them hard. I'm asking smart questions. I'm defending his actions, because when I began to look into that paperwork and I began to see the conspiracy, I knew then as a mother that you have to fight for your children out here, because our children are under attack. We're watching young children get murdered every day. And until we as a people begin to unite and love ourselves, it's going to continue to happen. So sometimes God will put you in a situation that will cause you to move.
And that's an earful. Listen, we got so much more to come. We want you to stick and stay. On the other side of this break, we're going to get back with the attorney and get some more details about this case. But we want you to call in, 868-0342. That's 313-868-0342 or 868-0351. Call in. We need your comments. We want to know that you are listening and you are concerned and you understand, or you may have a question. Call us right on the other side of the break. You are live right with us here on An Earful. And I'm your host, Lemuel Appling.
Alexa, open TV 33 Live. Alexa, open FM Detroit. Alexa, open FM Virgin Islands. Now you can listen to WHPR, TV 33, and WVIE on Amazon Echo. Don't miss a minute of your favorite shows. And find out how you can have your own show heard worldwide on Amazon Echo. For more information, go to FirestickTVNetwork.com or call us at 313-868-6612. The Watkins Broadcasting Company.
Welcome back to An Earful with your host Lemuel Appling. We're here with Mrs. Avery and Attorney Brevel, and we are just wanting you to be informed on what you can do in the case of a family member who gets wrongfully incarcerated. We want you to know that you have to fight. You have to fight for your loved one. You have to fight for your children. You have to get the facts so that you can be equipped to fight. And then you got to get in the fight, stay with the fight, stick with the fight until you win. Mama, come on, speak to those mothers again and give them some encouragement, because I know it's a mother out there listening that feels alone and helpless. What would you say to her?
I would say, first of all, you're not alone because God is with you. And second of all, get involved in the case. Read the documents. Speak to your child and get the facts and find out for yourself so that when you call, you'll have the confidence, you'll have the knowledge, you'll have the information. Because the first thing they're going to try to do is spin you. There were times where I would try to call and they would say, oh, well, we don't see anything, and I had the facts in front of me. And then I would begin to force them to look into this case, because once I got focused on it, they couldn't just give me an answer and I would walk away. So for those of you who do have family members that are incarcerated and doing with life sentences, first of all, encourage them. The visits are important. The letters, the cards are important. Because if they don't feel that you care, then they tend to lose that light within them. They tend to get weak with, well, okay, well, it is what it is. Because as long as you have family, accepting it.
Right.
But as long as they know that there's family thinking about them, visiting them, calling, receiving their calls, doing care packs. But the most important part is stay active in the courts. You have a right to address anything with their attorneys. And if you don't feel like their attorneys is working on their behalf, you have a right, Lenny, to dismiss them. And in my son's case, we dismissed about 6 attorneys because, first of all, when they stopped communicating with him, I picked it back up. And when they stopped communicating with me, that's when me and him decided we're moving on to another attorney. So then we would lock this case up because now we're back in court. My son would file these motions to dismiss these attorneys. The judge was getting upset. And the judge tried to paint my son as someone who couldn't get along with the attorneys. And he said, no, it's not that. They're not doing what I asked them to do. And so you have a right as a mom to pick up that phone and talk to that attorney and demand that this attorney works wholeheartedly on your son's case. And if they don't, dismiss them. Dismiss them. Because you have a right to make sure that your son gets proper representation.
You have to fight is what we're trying to encourage you. You have to fight. Listen, we've been seeing it all over the news the last couple of years. So many people has been getting set free for crimes that they have served years, decades even for. And we come to find out through DNA or some type of evidence that they was never in the place. They was never even supposed to be going through what they've been through. And guess what I found out? The state of Michigan right now is claiming bankrupt. They're claiming they don't have any money. So these guys that are getting set free are coming home, but they're not getting any financial support. So now they're back into the criminal system because they have to try to eat or survive, or they're just going without. So they've been failed by the system twice. That's
and
like
their
double
families,
jeopardy.
Lenny. This is where the family, when you know your loved one is being released and coming home, set something up for them. And this is why, again, it's important that we as a people.
Hold on, let's take this call because we just jump in. They calling you on the air. What's your name? Welcome to the Earful.
No, it's your dad again. You kind of caught me off guard. I thought somebody was going to screen me first.
Okay. What's happening?
Okay, no, I was just saying that you're doing a great job and you got great guests. She's professional. She knows what she's talking about. And it's a very informative, well-balanced program that I think you're doing a beautiful job. I was going to let you know I was proud of you, and I love it, and I keep up the good work.
I appreciate that, Daddy.
All right, I'm going to listen. Then I was calling too because it was my only. I was hoping you didn't answer the phone because I was listening to the program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, during the time of the wait, but it's okay.
I appreciate it.
Go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt.
Okay, so please continue to call in as my dad is doing. And it's so awesome. My parents are in town this week. Well, my mother is, and we just appreciate the love. And there's nothing like hearing your daddy's voice all the way from Long Beach, California, and he can see us live. And guess what? That's a good thing. A little side note: you never know who you're reaching. You never know who is listening. And that's why we're putting on this show, because we want those, wherever you are, that has been affected by this penal system that's failing so many people. And we got to stay involved. We got to be involved as a community, because you don't want to wait till it's happening to you. Attorney, where are you in this thing?
Well, right now we're trying to. We want to go to the next step. We want to make sure that strategically we're doing the best thing to get NOSA out as soon as possible. I think that there are two innocence projects in Michigan. There's one at Western Michigan University. There's one at the University of Michigan. So I want to talk to him about potentially utilizing those. They can investigate cases. They have law students that are trained by attorneys who have done this work, who can reinvestigate an entire case. Again, many cases at the level where they need to be investigated do not get investigated. There's not enough facts. There are not, they don't follow the leads. They don't go and get the information. And again, especially with a cold case, it's very difficult. So there's that route. We're also looking at presenting some new evidence to the court. You can always present new evidence to the court, and that's something that we're continuing to investigate the case on our own and continuing to move forward from that perspective. Something that I would really like to request and see, though, I think. If people know attorneys that have done this work, have done good work for their families, because attorneys need to come together. It can be hard. It can be difficult to do this work on your own.
Right.
And so really what we need because we need a team, we need a coalition of people, just like what we were talking about, we as a people need to come together and support each other. And that's the same for the attorneys and the legal professionals who are working on any given case. With something like this, you're going against the system is against you. You need a team. And so, if there are other lawyers that are committed to this work, are committed to, freeing the innocent, are committed to looking outside the box, right? So not just, yes, we can do appeals, but you've got to also do something different. You have to walk with wisdom, as Denise was speaking about. There are things that we have to do that are different. And so I'm certainly seeking, other attorneys that are committed to this work and that are interested in doing this work for other clients, so that we can work together. There may be some things that we can do together that we can't do alone.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we got to understand that as a people, and we say that as a people all the time, but do we really know what that means, and do we really appreciate that a community is individuals coming together for a common cause? That's what a community is, and we got to be a community again.
And
Mama?
you just brought back to memory how this, when this case first started, and you were invited, I put a meeting together.
Yes, you did.
I had everybody come to my house because I began to put a team. I knew that this was far more greater than me.
Yes.
And so I started inviting people to come as a team, because people come to the table with their own experiences and truth and knowledge. And so that team helped kick off this Free No Sakari, and then we did a rally at Palmer Park that summer with Free No Sakari. But my objective to that rally was to begin to look into the prosecutor's office,
Right.
because I had tried to reach out to the prosecutor to go over the case.
Now, isn't that amazing how many cases have been overturned and we have the same prosecutor?
Yeah. And that was my issue.
I don't understand.
Same
Yeah.
crime lab,
Yeah, the
too.
same
Yeah.
crime
the
lab.
crime
Yeah.
lab is where all the evidence is housed.
Yeah.
Detroit has a long history of, there are all these, rape kits, sexual assault kits,
Yeah.
DNA, ballistics evidence, all of these things that were found in the Detroit crime lab to be contaminated or incorrect or inaccurate. And you're convicting people based on NOSA. The whole reason that this case even started was because they put his name into this database they have called CODIS, and it came up and said, your DNA came up with this glove that was connected to this murder. That's the whole thing.
Right.
But the crime lab in Detroit was found specifically on ballistics evidence, but I think there's way more than that we don't know, was found to have inaccurate results on some of their, on a lot of their evidence. And so they had to close down.
But what was interesting, Aaron, when you said the DNA was found on the glove, this case originated in '99 where there was no glove. That glove didn't show up until 2011. And all of the original documents on that investigation sheet, on the sheet where they collect evidence, there was no glove there.
And this is what is baffling in this case, and in most innocent cases, is that it's overwhelming evidence in the favor of the defendant that's overlooked. How can you fight against that? Is it attorney? The lack of proper representation, is that?
I mean,
the majority of the problem?
that's certainly a part of it, because if you have all the evidence but you don't put it forth, again, there was a list of witnesses that were not called. Nosa did not, was told that he should not speak on his own behalf at his own trial, and so he didn't. And so, again, if you're on a jury and the prosecution puts forth all this evidence and the person who's accused says nothing, again, there's a rule in the court that says you're not supposed to hold that against someone. But let's be realistic.
Right.
Jurors are people. They are not attorneys. They don't have legal educations. They don't know, from my experience, they don't necessarily always know how they're supposed to weigh those things. And they can just look at it from their own experience. And their own experience tells them if he didn't say anything, I don't know what I think about that.
Right.
Or there's nothing to go against all this evidence that the prosecution put forth. And of course, there's nothing. The judge doesn't come to the jury and say, "Don't forget, the prosecution is the government. They have way more money, way more resources, way more people to put their case together than this guy did." They don't tell them that. The
And
jury
all the
just
while-
has what they see.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I would love to see in the future is I'd love to see neutral attorneys that are on juries.
Right.
Every jury should have one attorney who can, who's working for both
balance
sides,
it out,
really.
yeah.
Who says, "Hey, no, you can't consider this evidence. Hey, you can't hold against him that he didn't testify. Hey, you got to think about this." Because jurors need that. Jurors don't have that. I would love to serve on a jury, but because I'm an attorney, they never pick me. But, it's something I'd love to see how it really works and be there, because I think jurors don't always have all the facts that they need.
And I think they also need to allow the people that's sitting in the audience in the courtroom to have some input, because, like I said, when I was there, if they would have just let me say something, I would have beat
All
that
of
case.
us.
I swear,
But,
I swear I would have.
Another aspect to this as well is, and this is where I'm kind of focused after my son comes home, is that the judge in this case took it personal. He literally told my son, when my son filed a motion, he said, "You are quite an intelligent young man." He said, "But you didn't go to school for this." Motion denied. See, and these are the things that as a family member, you can take these things and use it, because all of these transcripts, everything in the court is being transcribed. And so I immediately made sure that I order every transcript, because those words will come back to haunt him.
That's right.
Because a judge cannot show prejudice.
That's right.
And this judge at one point literally held my son's case file in his office for months. And every time we went down there to try to get documents, they couldn't find the case. But Mom, get on your knees, because when that happened, I started praying and asking God to show me what was hidden. And when God told me that day to go down to court, the judge was not in his chambers. The clerk was able to go into his chambers and get my son's file. And we were able to get documentation that removed this judge from this case. This judge got off this case with the documents where we were able to get. And so,
That's
Mom,
awesome.
do what you got to do. There's going to be times where you're going to feel defeated, but that's where, when you trust in God and you lean not to your own understanding, He will direct your path.
Now, attorney, what can we get the people to do to help, get involved? Like, can they call someone? Can they write someone? What can the people do to help in NOSA's case?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things we've consistently asked people to reach out to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, to their wrongfully convicted unit in particular, it's headed by a woman named Valerie Newman. There's still some things that they said that they're working on. They haven't gotten back to us on that yet. Reach out to them, ask them to say, hey, look at this case. Look at this case again. Look at this case again. Look at this case again, because there are so many things that are not adding up. And this is what your unit was created for. Your unit was created to look at cases in the prosecutor's office objectively,
Yes.
right? And say, hey, we may have made a mistake on this. There may have been something that we need to do about this. Maybe we need to investigate it more thoroughly. And that's something that I would urge everyone to, call Nosakari Anamanu. That's Onumonu is how you spell the last name. If you reach out to the wrongfully conviction unit at the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, I would say I think that'd be a great way for you to support the work that we're doing. And also, again, if there are other attorneys, other families that have had good experiences with attorneys, reach out to us. Let us know who these attorneys are, who you've worked with, that have helped your family move through this very difficult process, so that we can work together and get NOSA on the other side of this.
And Mom, where is that the video? I posted it on my page about
It's on YouTube.
And what is the call?
No Sakari Anamano. You could just type in his name, but it was called Free No Sakari
Right.
Rally.
Right. Okay, so go on YouTube, and we have a video there walking you through the whole case, so you can be aware of what's going on, so that you can know the facts. Go right there on YouTube, look up Nosakari Anamano.
And the
I got it
spelling
out.
of that, for those of you who might want to write it down, it's spelled Nosakare, No Sakari, and the last name is Anu Manu, Onumonu.
Well, listen, we need you to get involved. We need you to support, and most importantly, we need you to pray. If you didn't hear nothing else today, you heard about the power of prayer. You heard about God being involved. You heard about the Spirit leading. So we need you to help us pray. Because prayer, what my grandfather used to always say, what prayer in the gospel can't do just won't be done. So we believe in the power of prayer. Okay, so we need you to pray for Mrs. Avery, for her strength, so that God can continue to help her fight this good fight. We need prayers for Attorney Bevel as she continues to fight the good fight. Bevel,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Aaron Bevel. We need your prayers, okay? We're going to come right in on the other side of this break, give you a quick word from God, and we see you on the other side right here on An Earful. And I'm your host, Lemuel Appling.
Watkins Broadcasting is going worldwide. Now you can watch Detroit's own WHPR on your TV from anywhere in the world. No matter where you are, you can stay in the know with WHPR TV and Roku. You can get your easy-to-install Roku box from wherever you shop for your entertainment gear. Once your Roku box is connected to your TV and internet, go to the channel store on the home menu of the Roku box. Enter WHPR TV in the search engine and add it to your channels. That's it. That's all you need to get the best in entertainment, news, and talk, no matter where you are. Roku brings all of your favorites to your TV. Netflix, Hulu Plus, Crackle, HBO Go, and now WHPR TV, Detroit Live.
Welcome back to An Earful. I'm your host, Lemuel Appling. Well, like we promised, what a wonderful show we had for you today. Wasn't that an earful? Listen, we need you to get involved. It's about community, you guys. We can't wait till trouble come knocking on our door. We got to be there for each other. Have you ever been in this position? Reading your Bible? As a believer, that's what we should do. The fight of faith is education. God wants you to feed upon his word, because it's through his word we live, we have our being, and we are able to thrive. In the year 2019, God wants us to thrive, not just going through the motion of church and religion. No, he wants you to thrive. He wants you to prosper, because guess what? His word is available for us right here, right now. Jesus said in Luke chapter 4 that man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. He told us right then what to do. He said, read my word, feast upon my word. Why? So you can have strength. The reason why you're faltering and falling in so many different areas in your life, because you have no spiritual strength. Spiritual strength is only derived through reading the Bible. You got to read your Bible. Stop listening to the lies. Stop it, stop it, stop it. No white man wrote it. No king controlled it. No, God is the author, and he is the one that's protected this knowledge that he has for us from generation to generation to generation. It's been through the dark ages. It's been burned. It's been kept away. But guess what? It's here today, and it's still the best-selling book ever. So you have too many reasons to read your Bible. And the saddest thing you can say when you get to heaven is that you haven't read the Bible at least one time. I can take it. If you come to me and you say, hey, I've read the Bible like you asked me to, and I don't like it, I don't agree with it, I can accept that. Versus a person that hasn't read it and, skimmed through it or heard a lot about it, but haven't took the time themselves to read it for themselves, and then they say these hypocritical things. No, I cannot hear you, because you haven't done the most intelligent thing to do, and that is read for yourself. Once you read the Bible, it will no longer be what mama say. It will no longer be what the pastor say. It will be what God is saying to you. So read it. Read it, read it, read it. I'm telling you, it's good stuff. And when you begin to read, don't just skim around and jump around in it. Start from the beginning. Work your way from Genesis to Revelations. The Bible was written in a chronological order, and it is written in an order for a purpose, because it's a story. And as you follow the storyline, you'll begin to understand God. And start at Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, for it says in the beginning, and that sounds like a great place to start. Well, I'm telling you, be encouraged, be encouraged. The best is yet to come. I want you to make this your mantra. God is with me. God is for me. God is in me. Say that with me. God is with me. God is for me. God is in me. Anytime anything comes against you, say, no, no, no. God is with me. God is for me. God is in me. Anytime life is weighing you down, say, no, no, no. God is with me. God is for me. God is in me. When things look bleak, say it. Say it loud. God is with me. God is for me. God is in me. Well, it's been an earful, and I thank you so much for sticking and staying with us throughout the show. Next week, we'll be right back, same time, same channel, and we're still talking about the innocent. We want you to be aware that it's 200 plus people, black, white, and all other colors, that are locked up in prison for something they didn't do. And Jesus said, when I was hungry, you didn't feed me. When I was naked, you didn't clothe me. When I was sick, you didn't visit me. When I was in prison, you didn't see about me. And his disciples said, when was you in these situations? We never seen you like this before. And he said, what you have done to the least of them, you've done also to me. So being there for people in prison is our duty as believers. Okay? So get on your job. Be the voice for the voiceless. Well, that's our show for today. I thank you so much for sharing with us today and allowing us to share with you. We see you next week right here, same time, same channel on An Earful. And I'm your host, Lemuel Appling. You have a great day.